A lot of amazing companies being built today in the US are built by immigrants. And this is a factor. I think this is a factor because the market is very open, the economy is open, the people are amazing, the whole ecosystem exists. But also, I think immigrants are driven. We don't have preconceived notion. We think we can do it and we just go ahead and do it unless somebody tells us not to do it. So it's helpful.
Immigrants. At the Immigrant Pod, we explore the journeys of exceptional immigrants who have made significant impacts across various industries. Raj Singh is a distinguished entrepreneur, investor, and innovator who, whose work spans multiple sectors, including B2B, SaaS, health tech, electronic vehicles, high technology, and autonomous driving. Raj's academic journey began with a Bachelor's of Technology from the Indian Institute of Technology and was followed by a doctorate from the University of California, Berkeley. Raj has a professional career including a tenure at McKinsey and Company, where he collaborated with Fortune 500 companies in the high-tech sector, refining his strategic and operational expertise. He has demonstrated profound ability to establish and expand startups and is the co-founder of, hear this out, International Battery Company and the Hyperspec AI, and was a founding member of Invocare, a healthcare-focused SaaS company. In 2022, he co-founded Z21 Ventures, an early-stage venture capital firm that supports technology startups in the US and India. Z21 Venture operates a collective of Indian origin tech executives from companies like Google, Amazon, and Meta, emphasizing a community driven investment approach. Welcome again to the Immigrant Pod. Raj, you've worked across industries that generate massive amounts of data: health tech, EVs, autonomous driving. What does it take to truly turn a world of data into a data driven world?
Interesting. As an entrepreneur, actually, it's a good opportunity, right? So when there's a lot of data, what happens is that you can do a lot more with it, right? If there is no data, you can't do much. So what it takes is ability to understand the use case and the solution that you can build, which actually adds value. Build out those solutions and use cases, and then you can build companies around it, right? So yeah, world of data changed to a data driven world because the solutions are driven and based on data. But you can't sell just data, you can't just sell analytics, you have to sell solutions. You have to sell something that adds value to customers. So that's in short. And of course, it's a lot deeper discussion into creating these companies and how AI comes into it, which is a big part of pretty much every data-driven company today. But yeah, that's in short.
AI is very quickly creeping into the marketplace. Immigrants who are getting into business and also higher education, how should they look to incorporate AI into their daily lives and in business?
Yeah, this is very interesting, right? So if you see my journey, right, of course, like I've been in the US for last 15, 16 years. I did my PhD here. I worked at McKinsey here. But I got into the startup world working for a company called Innovacer. It's now a $3.5 billion company. I was one of a founding exec there. I was the head of products. But and that was eight years ago, 9 years ago. Uh, we as immigrants were able to create healthcare technology companies serving US market. 100% of all our customers were in the US, right? Um, and that was an opportunity, right? And specifically talking about the US market is pretty welcoming and it doesn't really care where you are from and what relationships you have. If you have a product that adds value, you can sell here. So that's one message to all immigrants I would say is like, yeah, people get scared, but I can assure you it's easier to sell a good product in US than in your home country. I can tell you definitely it's easier to sell a software solution in US than selling it in India. And I would say the same thing for others. That set aside, the point is the world 7, 8 years ago was a little bit different, where uh, you had more time to learn about a particular market and build products around it. AI changes that. And what it changes is that ability for people to build products has become much faster. So the time that you have to learn and actually develop a market is very, very small. And that is actually a little bit adds difficulty to immigrant, especially immigrant founders. Like I always think from a founder and entrepreneur perspective because that's the world I live in. Uh, so yeah, it's they should incorporate it, but I think what is important to understand is that the world is moving very fast, so they need to make sure that they are up to date with all the capabilities that are there. Um, I have some advice on how to build companies and all that, but yeah, that's how I would say like how AI comes in. Like it's very important. If you are building a company today in technology and you're not using AI, just not the name of it, right? Actually using it to get stuff done faster, sooner, more reliably, then that means you're missing out on something, right? And you should probably go back and look at your tech stack and read more.
How do we build companies as immigrants?
Yeah, so see, within of course, there's a lot of different types of companies that can be built, but my focus has always been on the B2B businesses. So if you think of companies, there are two types of companies. There are B2C companies, companies that sell to consumers, right? And you hear about them quite a bit, right? Most companies that you hear about are B2C companies, right? The Googles of the world or the Facebook or Apple. Uh, these are all B2C company, business to consumer. But actually, most of the largest software companies, and even in the B2C companies, when you think about where they make most of the companies, it's the business to business companies, businesses that sell to other businesses. It's called a B2B company. I focus on B2B companies. And I also tend to focus on not just any businesses, but B2B enterprise companies. That means you're selling to other enterprises, other larger companies. Think about Microsoft. Where does it make most of its money? It doesn't make it from selling Windows. It makes money from selling the Office and the clouds to other large businesses. So if you go to any of the Fortune 1000 companies, they all are using Microsoft. That's where they make most of their money, right? If you think of HP, if you think of Nvidia, it's a very big B2B company, right? If you think of like Adobe, if you think of Salesforce, these are all B2B companies. So I tend to focus on that. So if you're looking at a B2B company today, there are two things that are happening in this world. One is intelligence is commoditized. Everybody has access to the same intelligent models that is being developed anywhere, right? And if you think about like OpenAI's model or something came from China, like DeepSeek and a couple of others, but or Llama or it doesn't matter, right? Gemini's model or Claude and others. Everybody has access to the same APIs. So it's commoditized. And one thing you can assume is that it's going to get better and cheaper for sure. These things are going to get cheaper and it's going to get better. That means you'll have a really, really powerful tool that can talk to people, that can call people, that can read documents, that can do assessment, that can do research, that can read thousands of documents in 1 second and give you a summary. And you have access to that. So that's the baseline. If you have that, now what can you build on top of it that adds value to other businesses? And that's where I see most of the value getting created. Like think of manufacturing, right? A very old industry. In manufacturing, let's say you have a very large division of people who do procurement, right? They just issue RFPs, then somebody applies, then they make sure that these people qualify. Then they see which one has the lowest price. Then they negotiate. Then they make sure technical specification match and they award a contract and make sure it gets fulfilled. That's procurement. Can you build AI agents to do all of this thing? And if yes, why wouldn't you go and sell to these manufacturing companies and say, hey, I have a solution that will do this for you. I'm not selling you software. I will do procurement for you, right? At a fraction of a cost, much faster, much more efficiently. So these are the companies that excite me most. And as immigrants, I would say you have access to this as anybody else in the world because you have access to all the intelligence and you are probably closer to a lot of the industries where you are, at your travel. So build solutions that solve real world problems and sell them as, I would call something called AI enabled service, but basically you are solving a specific problem. Yeah, that would be the best way to do it.
As Raj, as an entrepreneur, what unique advantages and challenges have you faced while building businesses in the US in comparison to building a business somewhere else in the world?
The US is a great place to build businesses, and there are two main reasons for it. One is the market is very open to new ideas and new companies. And this is not just a Silicon Valley thing. Like in Innovator, our first customer was in Des Moines, Iowa. You don't even know where Des Moines is, but we got $1 million a year from them. It's a small city, small town in the middle of America, right in the Midwest, cornfields and a bunch of small towns. But the point is, people are very open to it, so it's easier, definitely, right? Like you don't need to have relationships. You don't need to. People don't like in India when we used to sell. There used to be this thing like, okay, you need to have last year at least minimum this revenue to be able to apply for certain contracts. In US, you don't have all this stuff. You don't have all this shit. You're like, okay, does your product work? If it works, people will buy it. So it has been easier, for sure. Just I will give the US experience more. Silicon Valley is an amazing place to build businesses. I think everybody in the world knows because one is all the stuff that are there, right? You want money, all the VCs are there. You want good lawyers, all the lawyers are there who actually understand startups. You want people, they are there. But I think the biggest thing is the belief. If you go and say, hey, I want to build $1 billion company, people are not going to think you're crazy. They're like, oh, very interesting. Let's talk about it. If you went anywhere else in the world and you said, hey, I want to build $1 billion, they're like, hey, you're crazy. Like, go first, do something useful. So it's a mindset thing. Now, as an immigrant, when you think about it, uh, there is some benefit also being an immigrant is that there's something in McKinsey we used to call it an outside in perspective. So we built a healthcare company here, and we had never used the healthcare system in the US. So a lot of things when we saw, we were like, hey, it's just data, right? Like, it's just data. You have to just ingest the data, put it in a data model, and do analytics. Like, how hard can it be? And we built it because we didn't know US healthcare. People who knew US healthcare, they were like, very difficult. It's going to take 18 months. It's going to take this much money. They had all this preconceived notion, while we didn't. And we were just a bunch of Indian guys who were trying to build solutions for US health tech. And we were like, it's just data. Why does it matter? And we just did it. Like, as we went, we got through all the things, compliance and all these things, but those were just the problems to solve for us. Those were not insurmountable issues that would stop us from doing health tech. But we knew a lot of founders who were probably smarter than us, who grew up here, and they would not do what we did because they were so afraid of healthcare data and privacy and HIPAA and all that stuff. So in some way, being an outsider is actually helpful, and you can see that a lot of amazing companies being built today in the US are built by immigrants, right? And this is a factor. I think this is a factor, both because the market is very open, the economy is open, the people are amazing, the whole ecosystem exists, but also I think immigrants are driven. We don't have preconceived notion. We think we can do it, and we just go ahead and do it unless somebody tells us not to do it. So it's helpful.
So, talking about we think we can do it and we go ahead and do it. Why is belief the most important asset when it comes to a startup?
See, startup building is difficult and tough, and many reasons for it. But think about it, right? So you were two friends. You both graduated from the best schools in your countries, right? One of your friends went and worked in the MNC within the country. They're making a lot of money. They're buying cars. They are buying houses. They're getting married. They're going on vacations. You are doing a startup. You're not getting paid anything, right? You're living in a shared apartment. It's tough. And it's really tough to see all that. But that happens for first few years when then the startup works out, you made a lot of money. But what if it doesn't make out? So belief is important, not just yourself, but others. Is two things. One is that, hey, you can do it. right? Like people like you have done it. It's not a big deal. Do it. Second thing is, what if it doesn't work out? Like, who cares? You you spend 3 years, you will go get a job. Like if you could get a job at this, after doing a startup, you should be able to get a better job because you worked, you learned so much. You know so much more than the person who just went and joined a MNC and worked there. And when everybody around you believes that, it becomes very easy. So one of the things, Martin, that you'll see, and that's why like the startup culture thrives in a place like Silicon Valley, is like when I would interview somebody who is a failed entrepreneur, right? We call them second time entrepreneur. There's actually a positive vibe to it. Like, oh, you have done it once, you have failed, maybe you'll do it better. In most other places, they'll be like, oh, you did it and you failed, you're a failure. Like, so yeah, belief becomes important, right? Both in yourself and how people around you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that. I love that you see the world and think that. So let me delve into something that you said, and really more so in what your experience has been as an immigrant who has a brilliant business idea that I'm looking to get into a startup. Yet we know that, for example, most financial institutions, most banks are not going to fund a startup for the first 2 years. um, that limits the amount of capital that can come into a startup. What opportunities are still there for my idea if I would consider, rather than having a startup, go out and consider maybe buying into an enterprise that would be able to fund the startup?
yeah. So this is an interesting question you asked, right? And we live in this world, so we forget this thing. So let me try to answer it for most people. So, uh, first thing, banks never fund startups. Okay. Uh, Banks are inherently risk averse institutions. They will fund when you start making money, and that's not a startup. Now, startups, I would try to divide it into two parts, right?
Hmm.
One is the startup that everybody knows, like, oh, the Facebook became like this, Google became like this. Like, we said we started from nothing, we're a $3.5 billion company. Like, that's a technology startup. Generally, startups lose money for next 5, 6, 7 years. And even though the business is great, the gross margins are great, you don't make profits or anything like that. So you need a capital from institutions like venture funds. That's what I know. Right? And venture funds are built to fund companies that will not make any profit for 5, 6, 7 years. So that's one. The second is startups, which are like you started a new store, right? And people do that, right? And you had a really good idea on how you would start that store, how would you brand it, and inherently these are profitable institution. And then from one you start multiple stores, and you can make a big business out of it. So that's a traditional business, but it can be a startup too in terms of how you started. Like means I know people when I come from a small town in India, right? And there was this guy who was really poor and from a didn't go to good college or something, and he started this stall for food in the market, right? And like every immigrant in their countries have seen that, right? And he figured out that there was this dish called samosa chaat, and then people really wanted. There was not a good place, and he figured some things out, and it became really popular. He did very well. I recently went a couple of years back home, and I met this guy, and of course he's married. He has a bunch of kids and all. He's same age as me, a couple of years older. He has a car, he has a house, but he built that in a very traditional way. So the traditional companies, and that's bulk of the startups, I don't really deal with them, but that's a very different institution. You could probably go to banks. There are governments that support. Yeah, I don't really talk about that. Now let's talk about technology startups. So two things are very important to understand. One is you don't go ask for money till you have the belief and trust that you can do it, right? And how do you get belief and trust is that you build something and you go try to sell, you talk to 40, 50 people. And if out of that 40, 50 people, 20, 30 say, hey, this is interesting, and I would pay money to buy this. Like if you build it, right? This looks interesting, and I would pay you $10,000 or $20,000 for it, right? And I trust that you could build it. Then you have a business. Now, the first checks. So there are two ways to do it. One is if you can and get a small group of co-founders, 2, 3 people, and if you can build at least what we call a minimum viable product and get it out. That's the best way to do it. The other way is that you look for angels, people who believe and trust in you. These are generally what we call in the VC world friends and family round. You go to all your friends and family and say, hey, I have an idea and I just don't have an idea. I have built something, I've showed it to 40, 50 people. I know there's a market. I need to raise some money. Here, I'll give you guys equity in my startup. And that's a great way. And I know a lot of people. Now, it's much easier to do it in the Valley. You just walk around and with an idea, people will write you $20,000 checks, right? And you can get 10 people and you get 200,000. It's easier here than a lot of other places. Some places like India or Israel, in China, uh, generally the startup culture is very strong and you can raise capital very easily. So I would say it would vary, uh, but you can always find people. And then there are actually institutional funds that fund these small earlier startup if you have the right thing. But the point is, do you have the right team? These two, three people. Have you actually built something and shown to a bunch of people? Do you have a pipeline of customers that you could sell to if you got the money? Right? And are you in the right market? Is it large enough? Could this become a big business? If you have all these requirements, I think money comes. Money comes, right? Most funds that I work with do not care where the companies are based. They would fund anywhere, companies anywhere, like till they have the right ingredients.
So, from idea to product, there's a lot of work in between, right? And so, in that work, and where you're looking for massive success, there's also a team that is required. How should entrepreneur immigrants who are looking to get into a very competitive marketplace decide who the right leaders are to bring on the team, and when would that time be during the initial parts of a startup?
So your first one, two people, if you're looking for co-founders, these are people who take the risk with you. That's why they have the equity. So risk means they left their job, you left your job, and two of you now are building the company together. So what you should look for in co-founders are people who have similar risk appetite as you, are ready to. If you left your job and your co-founder didn't leave their job, they are not the right co-founders, right? That's not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
So they need to have the right risk appetite. You also want to see complementary skill sets. But basically, hardworking and smart are the two baseline things for every entrepreneur. You need to be really smart. You need to solve a lot of problems every day and pivot around them. And you need to be ready to work your ass off, man. Like there is no there is no substitute to it. There is no work-life balance. All these things that we talk about, there's no work-life balance in entrepreneurial world. You're working all the time. Yes, that means I had kids and family also when I did that. But you work around it, right? Like and your spouse, if you're married, or they need to understand like this is something you gotta do. You're not gonna do it all your life. Maybe the next 5 years you're gonna do, but if you can't do it, don't be an entrepreneur. Like there's no way around it. So yes, people who have similar risk appetite, have complementary skill sets, and are ready to work hard, and you think are smart, like would be the right people initially.
You worked for McKinsey. What
Mhm.
what is, in your perspective, is the difference between where you at now and when you worked for McKinsey?
The world is very different, right? So McKinsey is the only structured large company that I ever worked for. I was lucky. It's a very prestigious and difficult to get into organization. They have their own structure. It was a good training ground from me. What is different? Very different, right? Like it was a very structured, large company. I was working for salary. I worked very hard, by the way. McKinsey makes you work really hard. But that is the only common theme, I guess. Where I work today is very different. I have my own fund. I've set my own pace. I decide what I want to do. And all the risk is mine and all the benefit is mine. If the fund does very well, I'll financially do very well. If it doesn't do well, then fuck, like I'm fucked. Like the point is, it's all the risk is mine. Uh, yeah, that's the difference, right? But I would say one thing, right? If you want a balance between being rich, right, have all the resources, and enjoying your work, entrepreneurship is the only way, right? Like you, people do make money by working for others. but generally it's not the work they like. I think it's very difficult to become very rich by working for others, but you can get good enough, like bankers and others make decent amount of money, but I don't think they enjoy their work. Like I love my work. I do it because I want to do it. If I don't want to do it, I don't do it. Like only entrepreneurs can do that.
Listen, my mother would agree with you, right? I got into business because of her, because every day she'll come home and that's the same thing she would say. You find freedom in being an entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with working for somebody else, but you want freedom, you got to get it by working for yourself. So that's very interesting.
Your mom is an amazing woman. Yeah, she saw this. Yeah. That's a way. My mom was mortified that I left a good paying job at McKinsey to join the startup. Like she was like, "Why? Why would you do this?"
So let's talk about that, right? I am an immigrant. I have a cushy job, means I am making very good money where I work. Um, I have earned it. I am productive and I do well, but I want more. What is the process of transition going to look like if I want to start my own enterprise?
So one is yeah, you want to do it. So, and it should come from within you. Like it's like a pain that comes from the stomach, bottom of the stomach. It's like I gotta do it. Like I can't take it anymore, right? Like, and you need to be motivated. Uh, but you can't do it just for the sake of doing it. You need to know what you're doing. Like, let's be practical about things, right? Like if your idea is that I'll make the best, I'll make the next competitor to SpaceX and I'll make a large rocket, idea is great. How would you start? You can't, nobody's going to give you $100 million to build rockets. Maybe you can start with rocket component manufacturing, right? And then the question is, what is your right to win? Do you know something that others don't know? Is there a white space where you can go in? Like, do you have other people who will join and work with you to do it together? Have you worked in the market? Is there a market? Have you done your research? So, what I would say is that first is the urge. Second is being just smart about things. Being an entrepreneur is being really smart and figuring out your way. And that means doing your research. You need to talk to people. Like, and I tell this all the time. Unless until you've talked to 40 to 50 of your potential customers, and you're not hearing thumping that this would be awesome and I will get it, don't do something. So don't just do things because you think that's the right way to do it. You also need to talk to your potential customers and hear from the market and then analyze what would be needed. You get it, right? So you need got to put hard work.
I wouldn't agree more. I think formally we call that a feasibility study is necessary to succeed in a startup. You've led many startups through technological shifts and market changes. What's your approach to navigating massive business change, especially during economic downturns like we are in now, or tech disruptions?
Yeah, interesting downturn. I thought we were in a bull market, but now we are in a downturn. Um, See oh, just got a news 90-day pause on all tariffs. Uh, Phone just rang. So good. So now the markets will go back up again. Uh, Sorry. See, the thing is, startups are long-term thinking. What you're building today will become a large business in 10 years' time or 8 years' time. It doesn't happen tomorrow. So generally, downturns shouldn't affect what you want to build. What downturns affect is like who is going to give you money. In a downturn, it's very difficult to raise capital. So those tactical issues are there, but otherwise, I wouldn't get too bothered with like smaller couple of year cycle like these we are on, right? That doesn't affect a startup success or not. If you so tactically, I would say, hey, if you raise money, then downturn is probably the best time to do it because other people are not getting money and you'll have less
Yeah.
competition. But I would not get worried by these small changes. I will think about the decadal changes. Okay, AI is a commodity and it is gonna get really good, and AI agents can do all the things that people can do. What products will I build now out of this, right? And if you're not thinking that way, man, your job is gonna get taken away by AI anyways. So that's a different point altogether. But but yeah, I would not get worried about these small ups and downs, except for tactical things.
Let's talk AI, right? And really, I'm going to take a very simplified approach. I am graduating high school, or I am graduating college, or I am an immigrant that has been in the US for 2 years, three, maybe whatever time period. I have this angst in my stomach. I know I want to do something, but I don't know what. If I was to take advantage of AI, how do I navigate it to be able to create a solution or a product that the market actually can embrace?
So there are two things very important, and this is a good question. One is like you have to believe that this is going to change, right? And so the belief comes from knowing. So you need to just read more, talk to more people. If you are in the US, go to these meetings, like there are conferences, like you can walk in, you're a high school student, all conferences have student pass. Go there, look at what people are talking, what companies are there. Like there's no better way to talk to a bunch of people, read a bunch of it. And AI has made it easier to do research and all that. Do your research. You need to know. Knowing is what builds the belief and trust, and you know what you got to do. Second thing, always remember is that you're trying to build a business. Like I know there is romanticized view of entrepreneurship. Like I woke up in the morning and I want to go to moon, so I started building a rocket. Like like that's a romanticized view, and maybe that works for some people, but I'm telling you, it doesn't work for 99% people. The way you work is like, what is that white space I can find? And generally, you find it in areas where you have worked. Either you are working in the industry and you see the gap, or the way you grew up. Right? Like, hey, I saw there's a gap here and we could build it this way, right? Or you do your research and you talk to a lot of people and figure it out, right? Either ways, you need to find a solution that people want and need. And it needs to be narrow enough. Once you have figured that out, the third step is there that most entrepreneurs miss. And I'll tell you, you need to find people who believe in you and will buy the product. Now, the thing is, most people think that comes from relationship. Like, hey, do I know people who will buy this product? I think that's wrong. And a lot of immigrants think that you need to know people to sell. That is bullshit. That doesn't work that way. You need to find people who are willing to take a chance to buy a product from you. And the way you get it is that talking to more people. Your funnel needs to be wide. If you talk to 100 people, with this profile where you want to sell, I assure you, you'll find two, three, or four people who are thinking that way, who don't want to buy product from existing vendor. They're thinking, if only there was a startup that would do this, and I can tell them what else to do, then the product works, and I will get a promotion. They are the people who will buy your product, will pay you money for it, and will help you build it faster and better. You need to find them. And they don't come from relationship, they don't come from your network. They come from the fact that you have talked to more people and found them.
Creating an opportunity in the market is a very interesting dynamic approach, and I believe this is what you're talking about. So I want you to really zero down on your third point, right? Can you share a time when you had to pivot a company strategy due to unexpected circumstances, and what were your key learning lessons from that experience?
Yeah. So I'll rephrase what you said a little bit. Like you're not creating an opportunity. The opportunity exists. You're finding the right person who is in the right mindset to buy it from you. Okay. Creating something that doesn't exist is very difficult and hard work. The best way for an entrepreneur is when an opportunity exists and you find it. And finding is a function of talking to a lot of people. What I'm trying to say is that relationships are not as important as people think it is. It might be important to raise money, but not for sell products, at least not in the US. In the US market, you don't need to. So I'll give you an example, right? In early days of Innovator, and we were trying to build this healthcare data platform and we were trying to sell. And we would approach a lot of the large hospital systems in the East Coast and West Coast around New York, California, and other places. None of them, they would talk to us, but they would never buy from us. Because two things, they didn't feel the need. There was no urgency. Hey, do a little bit more, develop a little bit more, become a little bit bigger, get five more customers. build this capability, that capability, and you will be in an endless cycle of talking and interesting but never buying. Our first customer that we got was this hospital systems, a small size hospital system in Des Moines, Iowa. Now, the key thing to understand is that they also had the money. They had a couple of, every hospital system in the US, if you're in healthcare, has a couple of $1 billion of revenue. It's a very rich industry in that way. They didn't spend $1 million. But the ideal thing is that there was this middle level manager who wanted to build something, and he knew that if you use the existing vendor, it would cost him $2-3 million and 2 years to do it. And he somehow found us and he was like, hey, can you do this? Can you bring all the data together and put it in one place and build these analytics? And we're like, how hard can it be? We'll just do it. We hadn't done it before. He knew what he wanted to do, but he trusted that these guys are technical, they are hardworking, they will live here, die here, but they will build it, get it done. And that was our first break of a large contract. And once we delivered it, it converted into a 300K ARR, which is annualized revenue, and that we delivered more and became a first $1 million customer. Once we had that, we used that as a reference to get others. This is what you're trying to find. And the thing was that it was a very unexpected thing. We met a nurse and she was like, hey, my boss was thinking of building something like this. Can you do this? We had a meeting and we were at the right time. Now, this person was a director, manager level person. And he wanted to think, if I want to be director, I need to build this, showcase this, I'll be director. If I can get actually outcomes, I can become a VP. And he grew with us. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that person who can take the decision and willing to bet on you because your product is not good. No startup has the best product. It's all bullshit. People think we have a good idea and ability to execute, but big companies have more resources, they have better engineers, they have more money, they can always build a better product than you. But they will not do it because I don't know, like they probably don't need to, but you need to because that's the only way you survive. So yeah, finding those people. I hope that helps.
Oh, it does, certainly. So, for entrepreneurs looking to integrate automation or AI into their business models, where should we start?
So I would say, and this is something very interesting. I was in New York and somebody said, how big is AI? Uh, and I told them, we are thinking between, is it as big as advent of internet or industrial revolution, right?
Mhm.
And he was like, whoa, that big. I think it's very big. Right? I think it's going to change how we think and work and do everything. I would say first thing, the same thing I said a couple of minutes ago. First, learn as much as you can, see all the companies that are working out, look at examples, read, subscribe to right kind of substacks and news and all, follow the right people. So you know what is happening in the world, spend time with them. Um, I would say don't build a company, at least in B2B enterprise. If you're building a software company today, don't build where AI is not your centralized pillar. I think your whatever you're delivering you should be able to deliver it faster, better using AI. And if you're not able to do that, think more.
So you're at the forefront of what the tech industry looks like. Immigrants have played a really key pivotal role in driving U.S. innovation, actually North American innovation. And if you look across the landscape, what emerging sectors do you think offer the greatest opportunities for immigrant founders and immigrant blue collar workers?
Hmm. So for immigrant founders, first of all, like I think if you're in North America, right, even if you're not there, if you're selling a software, sell it in the US. I know things look difficult, but I'm telling you, get a business visa, come here and try to sell here. It's much easier. And once you sell here, it's more scalable. And because intelligence is commoditized, everybody has the same opportunity to build really good high-end products if you know what you're building and if you understand your customers well. So that would be for entrepreneurs. Blue collar workers becomes a little bit difficult. I have less insight into it, but you know, most of the AI related job replacements are happening in knowledge space. I think blue collar workers are safe for now because most of the people who are going to get replaced are software engineers, doctors, lawyers, editors, writers. These are the people, man. Like everybody thought that it would be the lower end blue collar workers who will get replaced first, but that's not true.
So if you're looking at the North American market today. As an entrepreneur, you always you especially if you're looking from the outside, it feels like policy is really not working toward allowing you to bring your invention into a marketplace. What policy changes do you believe immigrants that are already in the marketplace need to push for to help unleash more innovation from the immigrant community?
Okay, so policies are there. I'm not too worried about the policies. Okay, recent crackdown on immigration and all that becomes a little bit difficult. The biggest policy that can be done is to make it easier for entrepreneurs to get visa and retain, right? So, you know about this visa called H-1B. So if you're a knowledge worker, if you're a technical worker, H-1B is based on only when you work for somebody that you get it. But around 2 years ago, they made it easier for entrepreneurs to get H-1B and O-1 visa. So I think overall, it has become easier for entrepreneurs over last couple of years. If you remove last 1, 2 months, which I hope is just a transitionary phase. So I don't think it's about policies. At least in US, it's not about policies. There is a bunch of suggestion I have in Europe and other places. Actually, developing countries have easier policies building companies at this point. They have other challenges. So I don't think that there's a policy concern, Martin. I think what immigrants need to do is that they need to believe that they can sell in this market as well as non-immigrants. Like I feel like there is this. It's more of a confidence issue. People are like, oh, but I don't live there. Oh, and I've heard all kinds of excuses like people are not like me. How will I sell? But US market is a highly commercial market. That means that if your product works and the value proposition is clear, they will buy the product from you. They don't give a damn who you are, what you look, and all that. Maybe register your company in Delaware, which is very easy. Any foreigner, anybody in the world can register company in Delaware. So you're a US company then. I think it's belief, nothing else. I think it's belief, absolutely.
So Z21, you started it as a part-time project. So tell us, how do you grow from a garage-based part-time investment type of a deal to the multi-million dollar venture cap you've become?
So for me, the reason I started it part time is because I wanted to see if I want to be an investor or not. As we scaled up, what we realized is like what the basically what we thought the community-based approach of investing helped us get really good deals and invest in them, and the fund one was doing very well. So I thought, and I was enjoying it a lot. So I thought I'll just do it full time. Now, uh, for a venture fund, it's actually a lot. There are a lot of emerging entrepreneurial people who start a fund, but I think if you have some background, like for me, it has been my entrepreneurship journey and my background, which helps me build a venture fund. So venture fund is a little different because you are asking people to invest in you, and you are taking that money and investing. So you need to have some background to say why you are a better investor than others. Starting company is a little bit easier in that way. So how do you start from a garage base? Is basically you prove out that there is a market and you are good at it and you will be able to scale up, and you go to other people who are investors and say, hey, look at what I've done. I have an idea, but I've implemented it. It works, it scales. Now I just need money. The only thing I need is capital, and then you move from garage to an office.
Okay, let me pivot you into leadership. You have obviously had the honor of leading large sizes of employees. At some point, you've had over 1,000 employees working for you. Let's talk about leaders. And how as a leader, how do you start finding the right people to help you scale your organization?
Yeah, this as a leader, one of the most important things you do is hire other people, and the goal should be to hire people who are better than you. I think a lot of leaders don't understand that. You need to hire people who are better than you at that job, particular job. How do you attract them? Is that when you're hiring leaders, you need to show them a path forward. You need to show them what they can do with it, and it is generally like something which is not limited by that particular role, right? So a lot of the people I hired wanted to be entrepreneurs in future, and I was like, this is a great place to learn. You're in the right environment. I'll give you that right exposure. You talk to the founders, you spend time, you learn, you directly talk to customers, work for a few years. That really helps you decide, do you want to be an entrepreneur or not. Actually, most of the people who reported to me at Innovator now are running their own companies. They're all entrepreneurs. They're all CEOs of their own companies, most of them. And I thought that was a great way to hire very good and ambitious people, because ambitious people and good people don't want to just be your employees, right? They want to take over your job. And you should be okay to think, actually show them, like, hey, come take my job. I will move on. I will do something else within the company or outside. So you should be comfortable with it. And unless you're comfortable with that, you'll not be able to hire good people. At least not people who are better than you.
Oh, very true. I completely concur with you. So here's something interesting. I was when researching researching you, I heard you say the VC environment is very crowded. If the venture capital space is crowded, what motivated you to launch Z21 Venture, and how can immigrants break into VCs or carve a moat for themselves in such a competitive landscape?
So VC environment is very competitive. That's why I went into early stage investing. I feel like early stage investing is very different. It requires you to have an understanding of startup and building startup, and I feel like somebody, a founder who has actually built a company, has an alpha. So you need to find your alpha. So that's a term to say what is your differentiator. Why would you be better than others?
Mhm.
So what is your alpha is very important when you're doing a venture fund, and alpha can come from your background, your network, your strategy, any of these things. So you need to find out what is your alpha. Uh, for example, I focus on the US India corridor. Even though all my investments are in the US, now, why do I do that? Uh, I do that because people in the US India corridor, so Americans who have been living in the US, immigrants or citizens, or people who are in India but they are building products for the US market and all, when I talk to them, they know me. They know the companies I've worked for and I've built, and there is a respect for that. So it's easy for me to attract the best of the best people. And if I go and say, hey, I want to invest in you, they were like, yeah, I want you to be my investor because you will add value. If I did the same thing with other founders who don't share my background, who do not understand where I come from, it becomes a little bit difficult. So my alpha reduces, right? So that's why I focus. So focusing on where you have the alpha, you have the edge is important. And we immigrants have that based on where we come from, what is our background, and all that stuff. And it's good to it's really, I think it's really great to just accept it and embrace it and see that as a way to move forward, right? Okay, you are a Chinese American, you have a view on how the market works, and there were a lot of Chinese Americans who were able to build really kick-ass companies based on that, right? Either in China or in US. Same you could do with Nigerian Americans or Europeans who are living in the US or Israelis who are living in the US. The point is, everybody comes from a different background, and that is a strength in a lot of ways, right?
Yes.
It's a strength. Yeah. So, yeah, just accepting that I think helps rather than trying to pretend somebody that who you are not.
So, talking about strengths, looking in your community, in my community, there is a lot of service based companies that are owned and operated by immigrants. So let's serve them a little bit. How can they best adopt a rapidly changing technology like AI and automation, data processing into their businesses? And how practically do they do that to maximize profit at the same time create time value for themselves?
Yeah, this is a big risk for a lot of services and companies, especially where there's a bunch of tasks that are getting outsourced or serviced by companies which are run by immigrants, but they're running it in their home countries, right?
Mhm.
India is a big place where a lot of these things happen. It's actually very risky time. And the reason it is because there was an alpha with immigrants, and it was like, hey, I can build a company in India, and the salaries in India are one fifth or one sixth of here, so it's cheaper with for the same kind of talent, and we can talk English and we can work on the same time as zone, and then we'll work. Um, that will go away if AI agents can do that work because AI agents are very cheap and they will be available everywhere. So what's the need for sending it out? So it's a risk. It's also an opportunity uh, to adopt it and do more work that couldn't be done before because of limitations on peoples and humans and data and all that stuff. So it's both a risk and opportunity. So what I would tell them is just spend a lot of time on seeing like how can you adapt AI to automate tasks that you are doing. Look for things horizontally and vertically where you are to expand your capabilities because somebody is building AI agents to replace you. And a lot of the companies that I invest in sell AI enabled services and they are replacing services companies like very rapidly.
Let's talk about AI and robots or robotic technology. Looking at the marketplace, what changes do you think are going to be exponential and will deploy rapidly?
Yeah, so basically, so first step is so agents will get smarter first, and then they will get the capability to do physical things. So that's where robotics comes in. Robotics is lagging, I would say, a few years behind what the agents can do in the virtual world.
Mhm.
Uh, so what they can do is that, yeah, it's very interesting. That's what I'm saying. Like, think, can an agent do the work that you are doing? And if the answer is yes, then build the agent first yourself or somebody else will build and replace you. There's no other way. The opportunity is that you can do more things. Now, robotics is interesting, but it's still a few years away where robots in the physical world can do things the same way as humans. But it's happening. It's happening. So if you are there, then I would focus on things where robots can work with a confined environment, like let's say warehouses and all that kind of stuff, and do tasks that are repetitive and easy to automate, and with simpler physical things like so something that requires a lot of your fingers will probably get automated much later, but something just requires you to hold something, lift it up and put something will get automated in the next couple of years.
Okay, so you've helped both the International Battery Company and Hyperspec AI. What inspired those ventures, and what's the future you're building toward?
Yeah, so hyperspeak AI was focused on autonomous driving. It was the wrong time to be in that market, so I think it didn't scale. uh, but we learned a lot. The technology development was super rapid. We had a GPU based data center. We did a lot of computer vision based work. What it was interesting. I wanted to do something after doing innovation and health tech. I wanted to do something more in autonomous driving was awesome. Lithium ion cell manufacturing, that is IBC, was great. Um, One of the main reasons I did it is that I had two great co-founders that I worked with because in both those companies I was playing the role of chief operating officer slash chief revenue officer. Um, so I understood how to sell to businesses, how to sell, market, and manage them, and that's where I went in. So my skill sets were complementary to my co-founders who were more technical. Uh, I went there because it was interesting and I wanted to work with these guys. Yeah.
So, looking at the future of AI, and how quickly the marketplace is adopting AI, how, as individuals, should we work on ourselves, prepare our skills, our soft skills, so that we can be able to adopt it and incorporate it into our world?
Yeah, so first is like just be informed, read more, see what's happening in the world. Because most people that I meet have no idea how good AI models have become and AI agents have become, and things are moving very fast. So I would say just being up to date is absolutely critical. It's my job to be up to date, but most people don't even care, and most media sources are really crappy because they do not understand what is real and what is the plan. So I would say identifying some of the more technical sources, not even technical, right? Like TechCrunch is a great place, but then also following some Substack, some people, just reading is important. I think that's critical to keep yourself updated and ready. Uh, and I would even encourage everybody to use more and more of these tools yourself, right? Like, why not? Like, you are doing this podcast. I don't know how you are editing this or doing this. I would encourage you to go look at a lot of AI-based tools and see what they can do. Can it generate something? Can it fix some of the voice issues? Can it make snippets? Like, there are companies that will take this whole video of 1 hour and make 10-second snippets, which are good. Like, the point is, or they will take the whole transcription and summarize it and make a small video out of it. The point is, use it in your day to day. Like, you're using a Gmail, Gemini is integrated. You can write really nice emails now with just like a couple of points you say and say, tell Gemini, hey, make a good email, and it does it. You can create content very fast. Yeah, use it more and more, man. Like, if you're not using it, you'll get left behind.
Raj, for you and for those who are watching and listening to us, 80% of what we do on the podcast is done by an AI. I mean, we've incorporated
Good.
in a lot of ways. And so we're excited about what technology can do and what it will do in the future. This is really good. So you said something really that is important, right? Wrong time to jump in the market and the right time to jump in the market. What's the difference?
Uh, in terms of what? Can you
In terms
clarify that
of
question a
opportunity,
little bit?
I speak to certain entrepreneurs and they may have an idea that they're bringing into the marketplace, right? It just may be
Uh,
the product is not placed at the right place in the right market, or the market is not ready for that product. How do entrepreneurs, if I may rephrase that question, work around that?
yeah. So I think the best way to do it is what I said earlier: is talk to 30, 40 people who are the buyer persona in that particular market and see if there is an interest to buy what you are planning to sell. Uh, Generally, people are very open about, hey, I want to buy this, I don't want to buy this. Now, it's difficult to do this in the B2C segment because you need thousands of people to understand, and maybe probably difficult. But in the B2B enterprise space, I think it's easier. If people are telling you they don't want to buy it, it's probably very difficult for you to sell it. Uh, so there are two parts to it. One, you talk to a lot of people, understand is there a market, will they buy it? And the second would be then within that market, find those one, two people who would take risk on an early stage startup like you. I think that's the best way to do it. Like, otherwise, just sitting there and doing your own research is like crappy work, and it's highly biased because you talk to people that you know and they tell you what they want you to hear, so it doesn't give you insights.
Raj, it would do me a disservice if I did not plug you in here, so allow me to. Um, Talk to us about Z21 Ventures and the opportunities you are creating in the marketplace.
Yeah, so we are an early stage fund. We focus on, as I said, B2B enterprise AI companies. We do some deep tech investments also, pre-seed and seed stage. We are very active. We have invested in 15 companies in last 1 year. We'll invest in another 15 companies in next 1 year. We invest $500,000 to $1 million. So if you have a company in the B2B enterprise AI space or some deep tech stuff, and yeah, reach out. But yeah, I'm always available to give advice, meet people. That's why I'm doing this because it allows me to talk to people. Yeah,
Fantastic,
so it's easy.
fantastic.
That's,
We share that in
yeah,
common, brother. We share that in common. Please tell our listeners where they can find you on social media.
yeah. So LinkedIn is the best place. I can share my link with Martin and others, and that's the best way to engage with me. That's the only social media that I spend time on. Yeah, so yeah, LinkedIn is best.
All right, we will plug you in on our end on LinkedIn, and make sure that if there's anybody who wants to connect with you, that they will find a way to connect with you. Listen, Raj, we appreciate you making the time for us. I want you to come back again. There's so much more we need to talk about. Is that possible?
A- Absolutely. Let me know. And I hope this is useful. But it was
Oh,
great to talk to
oh
you,
my gosh.
Martin and Samavi and the team. Yeah.
It has been amazing. It has been amazing. We will stay in touch. We need to stay in touch and work on a couple of things. I think our relationship is gonna go places. So Raj, thank you so much for making the time for us. Thank you, immigrants across the globe. Raj Singh.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Raj. We appreciate you. Talk to you soon, brother.